Hello, my name is Chris Parham. I am the designer of over50designers.com, which is a creative temp agency for senior designers. And here's my story. I have scenario one, scenario two, primary and secondary persona. Primary being David Marshall, mid-50s graphic designer, just lost his job due to COVID and needs to find a new one. Secondary persona is Carmen Rodriguez, early 30s, a lead recruiter at a temp agency, and she is trying to find she's trying to get this really big job that's happening for her company out on the Cape, where they're looking for a virtual convention, and they're looking for both young designers and old designers as well. So she is competing with CreativeCircle.com, and so she decided to take a look at their website and their business model rather. And she knows the same job, two different cities, 17 remote jobs in New York City compared to one in Boston. And her client, the primary persona, has to find a job in Boston. So, but also too, when you look at on your left-hand side, you can see how they basically cater to young people with what's been written in terms of how to get people in there, and compared to like not really looking for older folks. And then what she did also was she decided to do a mind mapping exercise with questions and issues by user testers for CreativeCircle.com. Sam Wright, 58 years old, was asked, with this site, do you feel that has encouraged you to spend time because of the vast number or lack thereof of remote jobs? And he says, I'd like to spend more time depending on if I can find a remote job. That's all I'm looking for. And then Jennifer Deese, a freelance graphic designer, was also asked, would you spend more or less time at this site looking for remote work depending on availability and work? She says, and so I would end up going to Indeed or Monster because the site is not really hands-on to me and makes the job much harder, makes the job search much harder. And so what they had to do was, with these answers and questions, that's how they went on to build the focus question for the KJ method for the mind mapping. And the question is, what do people do when they come to this site? And primarily they're looking for a job because it's a brand new site and it's a subsidiary. Here we have two wireframes to the bottom, and these are just the beginning wireframes. Nothing special. They clearly need a lot of work for both the talent database, Carmen's, and also for David's as well. They both work on their phones and their tablets when they're out looking, doing what they need to do. And these are the updated ones to your right, upper right. And they basically have the same things in terms of a remote only button, filtering out jobs, filtering out clients, being able to click on one click and then you're able to get right into a client, or you're able to get into a job. So both the talent database and the job search, they kind of do the same thing basically, for her as a recruiter and him as a job searcher. And as you can see at the bottom, David Marshall is seen clicking on the job, uploading a resume, getting the prompt of the received resume, and then he goes back to the job search. So it's pretty just straightforward, go right in and go right out. And here we have Amira Parham doing user testing for the over50designers.com wireframes. And as you can see to the right, she has some opinions that she wrote on this saying basically like, how come the jobs aren't listed there? How come the position isn't listed there? The pay scale, so on and so forth. So that's what we ended up doing at the top up here, where a job searcher would send in his or her resume, but specifically David, of course. And then the jobs would be filtered by city, state, and zip code, and also a remote only button is at the top, as you can see. And then he would click on that job, and it tells you how much he makes a year. It's fully remote. And also the same thing with the navigation. We've got contact us, talent, resources, clients, about us, and so on. So once he sends in his resume, he applies now. That goes directly to Carmen, and then Carmen sends him a prompt back telling him what's going on and whether or not there's any availability for a job. And these are the results of the wireframe testing. I'm just going to read a couple. For David, he needs to have direct links to jobs that he can apply for right away. Also for David, companies need to be identified and a job description is necessary for his specific website. Well, for his specific needs, that is. And also getting rid of the WFH due to COVID-19 and just put in remote only, because WFH is confusing even though it means work from home. And in Carmen's case, Carmen wants to change the wording in job applications that cater to younger designers, so older designers aren't discouraged by applying with language like 1 to 2 years experience, and instead say 5 to 10 years of experience, and make the job application process even, regardless of the age of the applicant. But as you folks can read, it's pretty straightforward in terms of the changes that needed to be made for the website, specifically for David and for Carmen. At the top right-hand corner, you can see that there is what she was talking about doing in terms of changing the language, changing what goes in there in terms of, instead of 1 to 2 years experience for a designer, it says 5 years experience, which makes it more even for everyone, I think, personally speaking. And also in the center, as you can see, there's questions that were asked, issues and questions for the first set of wireframes. And Herman Palin was asked, anything on the wireframe that's confusing in terms of the job search? She says, looks okay, and it works okay too.